There's really only a few things in life that get me quite this excited. And driving this forklift is close, but it's not quite there. But behind these warning labels is something I've been thinking about for years, and it might just be the answer to a whole lot of our questions. Delos 2 isn't exactly a simple boat. She's gonna have a lot of systems and technology, and every single one of those devices depends on one thing: power. But it wasn't only more power I needed. I wanted better power and a smarter way to distribute it and control it across our new boat. And what I'm trying to avoid is like this massive elephant's trunk of cabling that needs to run up to one central panel. And then, after months of late nights of research and going down a bunch of rabbit holes, I stumbled upon a company and a man whose work really fit the bill. You could call it a light bulb moment. What's your history, Bruce? Are you an electrical engineer?
I'm an electrical engineer, yes. I actually did computer science in the 70s, would you believe? And I wrote programs on modeling. I'm a mathematician.
Wow.
And when they saw our design here, they actually really embraced us. They'd never done a battery like this before.
And it all just kept getting better and better.
So you can turn any light on you want from anywhere on the boat.
That's an interesting solution for what we were talking about this morning. So, how did we end up trusting the heart of our new home to a completely reinvented solution? Well, for that, we need to rewind a few months. This morning we're going to go check out some batteries. It's a company called Safiery. They're an Australian company and they have some really innovative products, and I've been talking to them for a while, and we're actually considering using their batteries for Delos 2.0 because they are just this month releasing a solid state lithium battery. And there's a lot of cool features. I don't want to spill all the details while we're sitting in the car, but yeah, let's go in and check them out. I'd like to introduce Bruce. Bruce is the man. We've had so many nerd electrical conversations over the last few months. It's really cool to be here. And tell me about your company. What's the deal here?
We started off as a Victron distributor, an integrator if you wish, and we identified where were there holes in products where the current products out there were not doing a particularly good job. And we started off with the 12 to 48 because I could see
like
48.
Like a DC to DC voltage
Yeah, the
converter.
DC to DC. I mean, 48 is going to come in such a big way. So we knew that 48 volt was the voltage of the future, but so many vehicles still had 12. So we started off with that. And then after we did that, we started in the digital switching area. And we developed some products. We had a smart switch now for about 5 years. And we learned through that what went wrong and what went right. And then all of a sudden, a very important moment occurred when the wireless era really came of age, and the four, what I call them the four gorillas, Apple, Google, Amazon and Samsung, agreed that they would go to a common standard to talk to IoT devices, and that standard's called Matter. It's an open protocol.
Eventually we should be able to talk to Delos and be like, Delos enter party mode or something, and the lights would dim and like the smoke machine will turn on or something like that.
Well, I think what's going to happen is I think that we can get this year, by the end of the year, you'll say to Delos, tell me about the systems today. And Delos will talk back to you. Whoa. It'll be a bit of AI, and it'll talk back to you and say, your batteries are here, your water tanks are like this, and then look at the energy forecast on the solar.
That's going to be pretty cool.
And so I have all that mapped out. I can see it all. It's all going to happen.
It's all in there. Delos is going to be a very electric boat. Along with that, definitely comes some complexity, but because of it, we also get a lot of creature comforts. And for us, being online and being connected, it's not just for entertainment, it's how we run our business. Coordinating with our team all over the world to put out videos each and every week requires a lot of connectivity. And a huge part of this is utilizing a VPN to stay protected and work virtually from anywhere in the world. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. Think of it as a secure, encrypted tunnel all your data is routed through instead of the open internet. Which is why we're happy to say that today's video is sponsored by NordVPN. We've used NordVPN for over 5 years now. I use it to mask my IP address and make sure that my internet provider isn't snooping on or deprioritizing my traffic. Kaz uses it so that she can stream Sierra's favorite shows in Swedish. If you've ever traveled outside of your home country and tried to stream your favorite show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. One thing that really makes NordVPN stand out is a feature called Threat Protection Pro. It can protect you from phishing scams, malware, and even fake shopping sites in just the click of a button. So do yourself a favor and sign up with NordVPN today. If you do, be sure to use our link. I'm gonna pop it below and also in the description. That link is nordvpn.com/svdelos. When you use our link, you're gonna get an incredible deal of 4 free months with a 2-year plan. There is also a 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee, so you really can't go wrong. Once again, our link is nordvpn.com/svdelos. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this promotion. It really supports us and helps us out. And now let's get back to checking out the cool new batteries that we're gonna put on Delos 2.0. I'm really excited to talk about the batteries. I kind of want to just jump in to those if that's all right. This is a little bit of a different battery than you might be used to. It's still a lithium-based
Iron
battery,
phosphate, yes.
But this is a solid-state battery.
But just to explain what happens in a lithium-ion ION battery, which is every type of lithium battery, the electrons move. There's no chemical phase change. All you're doing is moving electrons from one side to the other. And the liquid slows that down, generates heat, and adds impedance. So when you go to solid state, you're moving those electrons faster and more cleanly, but that's all you're doing. There's no change of state. Whereas in a lead acid battery, the physical chemistry is changing to make the charge.
Yeah, but there are a lot of benefits to being a solid state battery.
Yes, so there's 16, what we call them wafers. They're wafers coming up, only 16. A normal cell-based battery will have many in it. A prismatic will only have 4 big ones.
Yeah.
But this has got 16 wafers coming up inside here. And then in the 48 volt, we just invert the wafers positive negatives, so we get a true 48 volt battery.
Okay, so that's worth noting is we don't need to put multiple batteries in series to come up with 48.
No,
it's a native 48 volt
48.
And it handles all the cell balancing and everything.
It's active.
With the BMS
Yes.
internally, active cell balancing.
Correct.
Cool.
And so the big advantage of the solid state is that this can go into a high temperature, 130 C, and it won't ignite. You can put a nail through a wafer and it won't ignite. You can crush it to 200 kilonewtons, which is significant, and it won't ignite.
Yep.
And you can do a short circuit. So I'm just going to take this wrench now.
Should I step back or no?
And drop this wrench
spark?
across the top there. Hardly a spark appears as I do that. And one reason for that is the BMS sensors. And this BMS turns off in 80 millionths of a second.
So 80 milliseconds. So it's just detecting that problem quick,
Yep.
and then it turns it off before anything.
And it's
because
actually-
if you were to do that with like another battery that didn't do that would huge spark, and that wrench would get real hot real quick. That's
really
bad.
fast. And these are IP65. If we add some goo in around here, we can get these to 67. So that's with these caps on the top. These
So
are waterproof.
65 would be splash proof.
Yeah, you can put a hose on it.
Yeah.
So I think 67 is a pressure hose.
Okay.
So 65 means you can do a rain on it. Now the other thing we did on this that we've got a pattern on is that these stack. So this battery can go on top like that, and they can stack up to 5 high. And these are all 2790 watt hours each.
So 2.8 kilowatt hours. And how many of them can you run in parallel?
40.
So you can put 40 of these in parallel. Wow.
So you're planning how many batteries? 8 batteries?
Well, I was just going to get into this because you mentioned the weight. You said each one of these is 20 kilos. So I ran a little calculation this morning because we're targeting about 50 kilowatt hours of capacity for Delos 2.0. And I did the calculations for a standard 270 amp hour 12 volt battery. It would be 572 kilos. With these batteries, for the same amount of capacity, it comes in at 358 kilos. So that's a savings of 214 kilograms, 470 pounds, which on our build is huge.
Yeah.
I also read that the temperature for charging is less affected on solid state batteries because there's no electrolyte, right? So,
Correct.
On our lithium batteries, if they were to get too cold, we would have to very carefully bring them up to temperature before charging them. And we don't have that concern with these.
That's right. So these will go 20 degrees C lower on charge. So these will go from about minus 15, I think it is.
Wow.
On charge, and discharge will go down to minus 30. I don't think for the boat you're going to go to those temperatures, but in the RV environment out in the desert.
We're going to take this boat north.
You go to Antarctica, you're going to have it, right?
It's a thing. So what's the number of cycles like?
10,000.
10,000 cycles.
It's massive.
We should be able to get.
Yeah.
At what depth of discharge?
That's at 80%.
Wow, okay. Okay, and then it's got CAN bus out. It'll talk nicely to all the Victron stuff.
Instantly, straight up.
Yeah. It's fair to say at this point, I was in awe, and the batteries were just the beginning. But it occurred to me that this was going to be one hell of a system to put together. And as much as I love this stuff, I needed backup.
Today is a very exciting morning because we're having somebody come and visit. It's gonna come and just see the build for a couple of weeks and hang out. Okay, little guessing game. Past crew member sailed with us across the Pacific. So take a little guess on who it might be. And Brian and Sierra just went to pick up from the airport and they should be here any moment. I can hear someone.
Hello.
Hello.
Look
Show
who
me
I
again.
found.
Doing? Good day, mate. How you going? We were practicing in the car. What's going on?
Hi, Connor.
Good to see you.
Hello.
We've got Connor here. We sailed with Connor. Oh God, we've known you for a long time, man. We met you in Miami like 10 years ago.
10 years.
We hung out for COVID, locked down in the Bahamas for months. We sailed through the Panama Canal and across the Pacific Ocean with us. And now he's come all the way to Australia to help me with some of the electrical and electronics installation, which I'm really excited to get into this phase of the project. It's kind of Connor's specialty. You've got what's your business called?
Boat Doctor. So we help people with complex electrical problems on boats, electrical electronics. We absolutely do lots of electrical installations, but we also do a lot of high-powered off-grid systems. So if you want a lot of electricity to run air conditioning, or if you want to sit off-grid and have lots of power, we can design and install the system you need to support your comfortable lifestyle in the water.
That's awesome.
I grew up sailing, I grew up on the water, I was homeschooled on a boat. I know the importance of reliable power. It has to work. You can't have a failure when you're on an off-grid traveling voyaging boat. So we really specialize in really high quality systems that are redundant, they are simple, they can have the flash and just like the system, but they always have a backup, right? So we really make a system that works.
And that's precisely why Connor was the man for the job. So basically what I wanted to do is get a little test board running with some of the components. It's like a proof of concept because I have all these ideas about what I want to do with the electrical system and some of the stuff that I've seen work on other boats and some of the stuff that I don't think works well. And what I'm trying to avoid is like this massive kind of like elephant's trunk of cabling that needs to run up to one central panel. And so the idea is to make more of a distributed DC and somewhat AC system that is powered by digital switching technology. So this is the Starlight and the Star Power products, and they're, would you call them digital switching, digital
yes.
power switching products?
Yep.
Now these basically will take big power in, and then we have a bunch of little power outs.
Yes, correct.
And so you can literally control lights with this one, and DC pumps, refrigerators, anything with this one. And so
Yes.
the reason why this is cool is because typically like on Delos, it's a bird's nest of wires. Like every switch, every light has its own individual wire that comes into a control panel. So you have this one central point in the boat where everything comes together. And with this, you can actually put these closer to the sources.
Yes.
Then you end up running one wire like this instead of the number of channels that this thing can control, which is how many? Like
So this will do
10,
12.
12.
They're 12 and 12 each. Just imagine how easy that's going to be for you.
Yeah, no, that really cleans up wiring too.
Yeah.
But the main cool thing about this is it can be controlled in a bunch of different ways. So the first way you can control it is it hooks right into the NEMA 2000 network. And so we can put these CAN bus switches anywhere that we want. And then we program each channel on the CAN bus switch to talk to one or many switches on the Starlight. And you can have multiple of these talking to the same channel. So you don't necessarily need to run all the wires from the LED lights to one panel for individual switching and dimming now. You run them to this box, you put this somewhere convenient, and then you have your NEMA 2000 cable that runs to this guy.
And so you can have those in your dash, have them anywhere. And then to configure that for these is so easy.
Yeah.
You select the channel on your phone and you just go and press all the buttons that you want
So
to control.
we could literally do like fridge, freezer, fresh water pump, like anything DC control we could program.
And you can have
to
up to
be whatever.
6 switches, either Bluetooth or CAN, turning the one device on.
Oh, so you can have wireless switches as well.
As wireless as well. This is a Bluetooth 4-button switch. We developed all this ourselves. And when I press that, you see the light comes on. So you can have 6 of these around the boat. So you can turn any light on you want from anywhere on the boat, either CAN or wireless.
That's an interesting solution for what we were talking about this morning. You know, we got this amazing lighting design, and then the person who did the lighting design, she doesn't know the construction of the boat. So she put switches here, and Kaz is like, well, that's a bulkhead that's 17 mils thick. Like, how are we going to cut that thing out to put a switch? But now with this, the battery lasts like a couple of years. So you just literally like stick it anywhere. You don't have to run any wires.
I mean, that was the thing with,
and it's long range Bluetooth. So
with lighting, if you want to be able to turn your lights on inside the boat and outside, like for exterior lights, you'd have to run wires all different directions.
Well, and then the other cool thing is this works natively with Matter protocol. So I don't know if anybody's ever used, what's the Apple one? I think it's Google Home, and it's Apple, we'll just call them Apple Home, Google Home, whatever. So we literally, when I get all this configured, should be able to use that to do voice commands on your phone or from an Alexa or a Google Home or whatever. You just be like, hey Delos, turn on nav lights. And
we're showing a bit of the Holy Grail here. So what we've got here is, this is just a standard phone that I've got here. Hey Siri, turn all lights on.
Hi guys, sorry for the quick little interruption. I just want to let you guys know that the full uncut version of the chat between Brian and Bruce is on our Patreon site. So I uploaded it there for all of you guys that love this stuff and want to know all the nitty-gritty about all the products we're gonna use and how we're gonna use them on the boat. The whole long video with all the things that we talked about with Bruce is on there. So head on over to patreon.com/svdelos and have a look if it interests you.
so the question is, what happens if all this stuff fails?
Yeah.
Right? So
It's great when it works.
it's a good question. It's great. I think we'll just probably run a bunch of manual switches in parallel with this. So we can still put these in a convenient spot, and then I will just put a small breaker or a switch in parallel, so that if this whole thing goes to hell and I still want to turn the air conditioning or the dive compressor on, or Kaza wants her magic tea machine to work, I'll just go and flip the switch and it'll bypass those two. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff coming together, and I'm really excited to start putting everything in. It's going to be a lot of lights.
Yeah, we got to figure out exactly where the lights are going to be. Yes, we're at the yard. It's nighttime and we're gonna try the lights. So me and Dan spent some time today to put up some marks. We were looking at the plan that we have, and we put out approximate marks where we think the lights are gonna go. And today we're gonna come in and double check everything to make sure that, you know, they look how we think they're gonna look.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Although we do have a lighting plan, it wasn't built inside a 3D model. This means it didn't account for any of the objects that could obstruct the light and cast a harsh shadow, like this crossbeam, for instance. On top of that, not all lights throw the same spread.
This one over the table is kind of round and it has a 20 degree, and these ones are more of like a oval shape to only be over the breakfast bar.
And so, what followed was a process of trial and error.
I think it's good. I mean, if you're eating, it's over the table. So it doesn't really light up this area a lot.
No.
Is that a little bit too little?
I think we're gonna want 2 extras back here. Like it doesn't really start to shadow until you get.
But we want those to be shining in, so we can't make those equal from the distance, because then they won't reach.
What? This continued well into the night, until eventually.
I feel like we figured a lot of things out, and now we can cut the holes in the roofs and yeah, get some lights in. It's exciting. Lights are really hard, I find. They're like difficult, you know? But I think we did a good job.
Check it out, guys.
Wow!
Ute full of batteries.
Exciting!
Very exciting. So much cool stuff.
Was it a successful day?
Such a successful day. I got so many toys. It's like Christmas.
Here we go!
Yeah, I wish. Almost as in like another 9 months.
There's only a few things that get me this excited. And this, well, this is definitely one of them. Now, the real fun begins.